Balmakov of the Epoch Times. That's right. The night is beginning to kind of fizzle out, meaning that the numbers have come in. So let's take a look at them. Right now, we're looking at 82% of the votes in, and something interesting is shaping up here. So let me write down next to the actual percentage what was projected by the polls. Trump was projected to take in 48%. Ron DeSantis was projected to take 16%. Nikki Haley was at 20%, and Vivek was at 8%. But you see what's happening here, and this is the real question here, because listen, the name of this program is The Nation Decides, but it's already concluded that Iowa has decided in favor for Trump. Now the question is the margin of victory, right? And so 48%, but 51%. If he can sort of, as the remaining 16% come in, if he can maintain his lead above, well, if he can maintain his margin above 50%, that'll be a huge story going into New Hampshire. It'll essentially suffocate any other story. It'll take the oxygen completely out of the media environment. And that is looking possible because if you take a look here, so right here, this area here of Iowa is more urban and suburban. This area here is more rural. And this is where the numbers are still coming in predominantly. So it's still possible that Trump will maintain this 51%. Maybe it'll go up. Maybe it'll go down below 50%. But it's still looking above 48%. It's a projection. You never know what it'll ultimately be at. But that's sort of where we're trending. Now, what's interesting, though, is Ron DeSantis, if you notice, he was polling at number 3. But at the moment, with 84% of the votes in, he is at a pretty comfortable number 2. So if we take a look at a few of the bigger counties, the more populous counties, these were Haley strongholds. So like Scott County, 99% of the vote in, 23, not bad. But what that means is there's no more votes coming in, right? Same thing with Des Moines, 87%. Ron DeSantis actually clinched the victory here. Nikki Haley was at number 3. And with so few votes coming in, it looks like things won't get shifted around. All right, Trump is actually coming up, about to give a speech, so let's head on over and watch that. We can come back here later. Address the headquarters. We'll listen to the former president as he addresses the crowd.
We're seeing a lot of chants from the crowd. It sounds like a very excited crowd right there.
This is with 89.56% of the vote in. Trump sitting at a 51.3% lead here. He was the projected winner of Iowa. Terry, what do you think he's going to say to the people?
Well, I think he's going to obviously thank them for the victory tonight. You know, I think it's important to point out that in 2016 he lost the Iowa caucus.
And his dust-up with Trump ended immediately almost because he and Trump are campaigning together in New Hampshire in a day. So all of that stuff was a bunch of, campaign baloney. But what I told Vivek personally is something I wrote in the Epoch Times, and that is if Trump offers him a good job, he should take it. Because Vivek has talked about going back into business. But this man is a natural politician, and he should take a job with Trump in the administration or even the vice presidency so that he is there for the 2028 campaign. That's all I have to say here from Des Moines, Iowa.
Thank you for that report, Roger, at the Vivek Ramaswamy headquarters. So it looks like Nikki Haley is actually addressing her crowd.
No more endless votes for House Speaker because we'll have a huge House majority. We'll term limit the do-nothing Washington politicians. We'll rebuild our economy and secure our border. No more excuses. And make no mistake, we will restore our national pride. We are blessed to live in America, and it's time that we remember that. And as we head to New Hampshire, I have one more thing to say. We're gonna win! underestimate me because that's always fun. I love you, Iowa, but we're on to New Hampshire. Thank you. Now, I have some people I need to thank. Right here in Iowa, we have so many great supporters. And I only have time to mention a few, but it's important. Marlis Popma. Many of you know and love Marlis, who has been a conservative fighter her entire career. State Senator Chris Knoyer, our amazing state chair, who has been hustling all over the state, but she has been a fantastic friend. Thank you, Chris, for all that you've done. Our state rep, Austin Harris, our very first endorsement in Iowa. He believed in us when not a lot of people did. Marianne Hanusa, who helped us organize across the state, but particularly in Southwest Iowa. Don Roberts. Don has made more calls and recruited more caucus captains than anyone else. Thank you, Don. Emily Schmidt and Rachel Gillenfeld are amazing women for Nikki chairs. Bill and Connie.
This guy. The next president, the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And when he says endorse, we're really talking about 2015. He endorsed me before, actually, long before I knew I was going to run. I said, who's this man in Iowa? He's a senator, a state senator. It's a good-looking guy, too. Doesn't he look? You can pay him and give him a lot of money. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for being here. You are so great. Comes all the way from Missouri, which isn't that far. You can't drive an electric car that far, though. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. The group of people that we have on the stage is just emblematic of the tremendous group that we've had. We've had such a great team. We did well. We were looking really good in 2016. And, just to go back to the senator, he was saying, I said, who is that guy? Brad, his name. Who is he? He keeps endorsing me. He keeps saying Trump, and I didn't even know I was running. He endorsed me 4 months before I knew I was running, about 4 months before the Escalade ride to England, our great First Lady. And that was Brad. I said, who is he? So he was the first one. But we have people that are so incredible. Your Republican Party chairman, Bobby Kaufman, and his son, who is a brilliant guy, and he worked with us. And I will tell you, that is a family of real professionals. Matt Whitaker, who is very talented and very good Attorney General. Matt is around here, so he's been with us all the way.
Bring out sent 8,000 votes. NTD's Iris Tao was at Trump headquarters last night after the watch party.
It's a big night here. Former President Trump has won the heated Iowa caucus by a margin even wider than expected. The historic record between the first and the second caucus was 12.8%, but Trump more than doubled that. Governor Ron DeSantis came in second, and Nikki Haley, despite polling showing her surging recently, came in third. Here's Trump taking a softer tone on his competitors during his victory speech here at his campaign headquarters in Des Moines.
Our country to come together. We want to come together. I want to congratulate Ron and Nikki for having a good time together. We're all having a good time together. and I think they both actually did very well.
Meanwhile, DeSantis and Haley had this to say.
In spite of all of that they threw at us, everyone against us, we've got our ticket punched out of Iowa.
Our campaign is the last best hope of stopping the Trump-Biden nightmare.
And another surprising development in this Iowa caucus was Vivek Ramaswamy actually dropping out after getting only single digits in support. He also went on to endorse former President Trump. Watch.
Now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for the presidency. And so I'm going to ask you to follow me in taking our America First movement to the next level.
And that could help explain why Trump chose to praise Vivek during his
were without power late Monday, with the bulk of them in Oregon. Widespread outages in that state started on Saturday. Portland transportation officials also urging residents to avoid travel, as roads are expected to be hazardly slick with ice that could weigh down trees and power lines. Portland police say at least 4 people have died, including a woman whose RV caught fire after a tree fell. Also, school districts in major cities, including Chicago, Denver, Detroit, Dallas, and Fort Worth, canceling their classes for today, and air travelers are experiencing major delays and cancellations. The flight tracking experts report nearly 3,000 cancellations on Monday. And with us now to explain a bit more on those frost and flakes is Newsnet meteorologist.
The lie that it's only politics. God will not be responsible. The Democratic Party wants people to believe that there's some type of severability between their vote and the person. There's not. You're going to be responsible. And so the black community started seeing the Democratic Party for what it really is. And they've allowed drag queens to go into schools to shake their eyes in their children's faces, use the public educational system to transition their children, use the public educational system to teach their children that they're victims, and that their white friends are oppressors. And the black community has started to rebel. That's why Joe Biden now is in the low 60 percentile of the black community, when he was at one time up in the 90 percentile.
Your book addresses the issue of identity politics. How do you believe the Democrat Party's approach to identity politics is affecting its relationship with black and minority voters?
Well, they've been very good at it for a very long time, because the black community is like a science project to the Democrat Party. They were the party of slavery from 1800 to 1860. They were the party of the Confederacy from 1860 to 1865. And then the party of Jim Crow from 1865 to 1970. And now they're the party of slaughter, abortion, LGBTQ, anti-Christian bigotry. They've always found this way of destroying the black community, but at the same time making black people think that they love them. But now black people are catching up with it. They are finding that the Democratic Party, like they're finding in Chicago, Detroit, Memphis, they're finding that they are their enemy. And the younger generation is responding to this. And they're trying to say, I need my money, I need my security, and I need my freedom. See, we have to deal with this paradox. How can you be a Christian and be a victim? How can you say that I am an heir of Jesus Christ, but I'm oppressed? I am a Christian man. I am a free man. My freedom comes from God. And the black community is realizing this, because the Democratic Party has been saying, come to government, come to government, come to government. And they've been doing that, and they remain at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America for the last 200 years. Now they're going to straighten them off and try something new.
Fascinating take, Vince. In your view, how have the economic policies of the Democratic Party affected the financial well-being of black and minority communities, and how might this be influencing their voting patterns?
The Democratic Party is always going to keep black people poor. If they had a chance, if they had a choice to make every black person in America rich and lose their power, or keep every black person poor and maintain their power, they would keep them poor. If you go to the inner cities, you go to Baltimore, you go to Detroit, you go to Memphis, Chicago, Seattle, anywhere they rule, and you have groups of black people, they are poor and they're destitute. It's like a third world country. And they do nothing to change it. Why? Because they get 90% of the black vote. And they're not going to change the conditions as long as they're winning. They win with this. They tell the people, depend on us, and we will make sure that you're clothed and you're fed, in your poverty. So they have no reason to change it. Because when you go to Baltimore, they get 90% of the vote. You go to Detroit, they get 90% of the vote. Memphis, they get 90% of the vote. Why would they change it? Poverty works for them. And now the black community is figuring it out. They're figuring out that they want to keep the school system, the worst public school system in the world. Why? Because if you can't read, you can't work. They found out that they want to keep them afraid and take away their guns so that the bandits and the drug dealers and the murderers can run the streets because the people are afraid. They have to call on government. This works for them. This is their stick. And as long as black people or anybody votes for the Democratic Party, it's going to continue.
Vince, the likes of Truman, FDR, JFK were some well-known and beloved faithful Democrats, but is today's Democrat Party the same party that they embraced and espoused?
No, the Democratic Party is different now. Now, they've always been a bunch of ignorant racists and classmen. They've always been that. Let's plan the Democratic Party went hand in hand. But right now, this Democratic Party is a Marxist construct. In 1960, JFK says, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Now the Democratic Party says, all I want is what my country can do for me. I don't want to do nothing for my country. This Democratic Party never says, I'm proud to be an American. That Democratic Party is gone. It left with the Civil Rights Movement. And when everybody started complaining, and everybody started becoming victims, and everybody started becoming oppressed, and the Marxists from the Civil Rights Movement took over the Democratic Party in 1972 in the convention in Miami. Since then, the Democratic Party has been a party of socialism, a party of abortion, a party of atheism, a party of LGBTQ, an anti-family, an anti-American party. They have much more in line with the USSR and with Communist China than they have with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
Vince Everett Ellison, very fascinating perspective. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Will cost lives, adding to the already deadly toll of the migrant crisis. Right now, weather officials say Chicago's wind chill is forecast is expected to be below 32 degrees. They say this extreme cold could cause frostbite on exposed skin in as few as 10 minutes, making it life-threatening for migrants who often arrive with only the clothes on their back. While Chicago officials say the amount of migrants arriving is less than it was at its peak, the city is still facing limited capacity in its shelters.
Commanders and recent bombing in Kerman. An unnamed State Department spokesperson told CNN that initial indications show what he calls a reckless and imprecise set of strikes. He adds that no U.S. personnel or facilities were hit. In a strategic move, U.S. Navy
Monday found that almost half of credit card users owe interest. That's up from 39% who carried a balance month to month in 2021.
Credit card balances fell early in the pandemic. People used stimulus to pay down debt. They were spending less for a while. The New York Fed says that balances fell 17% from Q4 of 2019 to Q1 of 2021. And that was the low point. Ever since then, it's been really a rocket ship upward. Credit card balances have surged 40% since the beginning of 2021.
Bankrate found that almost 60% of those respondents had been in the red for at least 12 months, compared to 50% in 2021. Around 40% of those surveyed said an emergency is the reason they're on pay. More than a quarter cited everyday spending.
The household budget now costs about 20% more than it did 2 years ago. And that's just because these price hikes build off themselves. And even though inflation's lower now, prices are still going up, and they're going up off a higher base.
When it came to age groups, 55% of Gen X and 51% of millennials reported credit card debt. 48% of Gen Zers surveyed said they owed interest. And 44% of baby boomers said they were in the hole as well.
I think all of this adds up to credit card debt is a big deal across demographics. Men, women, different age groups, different income brackets, different parts of the country. Credit card debt is very common, and yet there's still a stigma around it.
So is there any good news for Americans with credit card debt?
No. A few silver linings. One is that there are a lot of steps you can take to pay it off. A 0% balance transfer card is my top tip, and these have remained surprisingly attractive and available, even in a rising rate environment. You can avoid interest for up to 21 months with cards like the Wells Fargo Reflect and the Citi Simplicity and the U.S. Bank Visa Platinum.
Only 47% of respondents with credit card debt report having a strategy to pay off their balances. Rossman says the other 53% need to face the issue head on.
I know it's hard to think about this stuff, but we need to come up with a plan. It's just not sustainable to make minimum payments month after month when you're talking about this much debt at this high of an interest rate.
That way, cardholders can actually enjoy rewards like cash back and airline miles instead of worrying about their balance. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Stop paying money.
LG, the South Korean company known for producing HD